There's a Korean car brand that people sometimes forget about. It's not Kia, not Hyundai, it's actually SsangYong. And now, just to throw another spanner into the works, it has merged with another company and is now called KGM SsangYong. And the Taurus is the first model that they've launched for our market. This mid-size SUV competes against the Kia Sportage, Hyundai Tucson, and even the Toyota RAV4. And the new design features a whole host of interesting items, like this handle on the bonnet. And in this video, we're going to be family testing the Taurus and seeing if some of its features are functional or just for show. There are 3 variants for the Taurus, and the base model starts at just $38,000 drive away. The model on test here is the Adventure, which is the mid-spec grade, and families who want value for their cash will be very happy to note that all Taurus models are pretty well specified, and the Adventure's price point positions it towards the bottom end of the market compared to its rivals. Standard equipment includes synthetic leather upholstery, heated front seats and steering wheel, dual 12.3-inch technology screens and dual climate control, as well as keyless entry and start. But the full specs are in my written review at carsguide.com.au if you need more info. Despite sharing similar underpinnings to the Corando, the Taurus is definitely its own model when it comes to design, and I love how SsangYong has been bold with it because it really does have a strong personality, although some of the design features favour form over function. Take the handles on the bonnet, as well as the fake wheel cover design at the rear and the random faux vents scattered across the car. If this was in a movie, this would be the actor rather than the stunt double. You'll either love or hate the 3D grille at the front, but on a whole, this SUV has a very fun on-road presence. The cabin looks gorgeous with just the right mix of premium feel materials and upholstery and design that it never looks basic inside, although it does sport the biggest steering wheel I've ever seen in this segment. The contrasting stitching across the soft touch points, the copper accents, and the dual technology screens really look great. And despite there being some hard plastic still within the cabin, you don't focus on them because of everything else. Access and space for this front row are really good. Both seats are manually adjustable and have thick padding as well as those heat functions. You do lack lumbar support, but they're still relatively comfortable for a longer trip. There's lots of storage available up front with 6 cup holders alone in this row, as well as little clever options like this center console cubby and that you get a shelf underneath as well. I love the practical aspects of the extendable sun visors too. The touchscreen multimedia system is responsive but is let down a bit with its functionality. Music playing over Bluetooth hardly ever connects automatically, and the radio is pretty crappy. It hardly ever picks up any stations, and when it does, you get a pretty heavy static sound coming through anyway. I do like though that it has wide Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and the CarPlay was pretty good this week. Charging options are good. You get 2 USB-C ports and a 12-volt socket, but you do miss out on a wireless charging pad at this grade level. The space in this back seat is fantastic, and taller occupants are going to be very happy with the head and legroom available. My son really liked his view out the windows this week because the windowsill's not too high, and he didn't have any issue climbing in and out, but he did mention that it was hard to position the directional air vents to actually blow air onto him. Other storage and amenities are pretty good for the class, with 2 mat pockets and device holders, 4 drink holders, as well as 2 USB-C ports. There are ISOFIX child seat mounts on the outboard seats plus 3 top tethers. I didn't have any issue fitting my big booster seat this week, and the seat is wide enough you should be able to accommodate 3 child seats side by side if they're not too big. The boot offers fantastic capacity at 703 litres. The level loading space is great for sliding things in and out, and you get a temporary spare tyre and retractable cargo liner underneath this. You also get a power tailgate, which I always find is handy in a family SUV. All Taurus models have the same 1.5 litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine, and the Adventure is a front-wheel drive. You only get an all-wheel drive in the Ultimate model. This produces up to 120 kilowatts of power and 280 newton meters of torque, and features a smooth 6-speed automatic transmission. Basically, the combination gives you a pretty pleasant open roader. When it comes to power and its delivery, the Adventure feels willing but never sprightly. It does feel a little bit sluggish off the mark, and the auto stop-start feature doesn't help there. But there is a deep well of power to dip into once you get going, and that makes this a pretty solid open roader. Steering can feel a bit wishy-washy when you're on a winding road, but surprisingly there's not a lot of roll in this, which was good. Suspension is also nice and accommodating without feeling floaty, but you don't hit any of the big bumps and get a wince, which is awesome. Visibility is mostly good, but the big C pillars at the back do hinder your visibility a little bit, especially in the blind spot, and the rear window is a little bit too small for my liking. The Taurus doesn't feel big to park, but it would have definitely have benefited from a 360-degree view camera system, and I do feel like family SUVs, that should just be standard. But it does have a clear reversing camera with dynamic guidelines, so again, it's not hard to park. This has an official combined fuel cycle figure of 7.4 litres per 100 kilometres. And based on the 50-litre fuel tank, you should see a theoretical driving range of up to 676 kilometres, which isn't the best that we've seen in this segment, but it's still pretty respectable. After doing a really good mix of open road and urban driving, my real world usage actually came out at 7.7 litres, which I thought was a really good result overall. The Taurus is so new that it hasn't been tested with ANCAP yet and is thus unrated, but it does have a good host of safety features, including biggies like rear cross traffic alert and blind spot monitoring, as well as 8 airbags that includes a front center airbag. The lane keeping aid is quite sensitive, and it does mean that you get a bit of a jerky experience when it is on. This also doesn't have adaptive cruise control. You only get adaptive when you move up a level. The normal cruise control is pretty old school, but I actually really like it. But check out my written review at carsguide.com.au for more safety details. The Taurus comes with a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty, which is great for the class. And you also get a 7-year cap price servicing program where services average just $383, and that's very reasonable. Servicing intervals are also good at every 12 months or 15,000 kilometres, whichever occurs first. I know I joked about people forgetting about SsangYong, but the Taurus Adventure is one to remember. It's got an affordable purchase price, great ongoing costs, a practical cabin, and a decent array of features. Some of the tech needs a little bit of work, but this is one to consider, and that's why it gets the score that's on your screen now. If you're after more details, check out the full review at carsguide.com.au. See you next week.